like that, right? No, Christine. I don't know. I thought they were, you know, for the goal by that.
It's still bad economic. Yeah, it's short. Opposite. All right, it's 7, so good evening. It's now 7 p.m. I would like to call for the meeting for North Fair Oaks Council. Roll call, please.
Commencing roll call now. Vice Chair George Salmon. Councilmember Kathleen Daly. Here. Councilmember Everardo Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Brooks Esser.
Here.
Councilmember Blair Whitney.
Here.
Councilmember Kelly Parisi. Councilmember Beatriz Orozco. Here. Chair Juan Carlos Prado.
Here.
Thank you.
We will now move on to the public comments. Does anyone have public comment on a topic not on the agenda? Please know that the council may not discuss or take action on items not on the agendas. Do we have a public comment?
It is now time for general public comment. If you would like to make a public comment, please bring a speaker slip up to the clerk. For those of you joining this meeting on Zoom, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom. Each person will be granted 2 minutes to speak. No public comment. Back to you, Chair.
No public comment. Great. We'll move on. We'll move on to our one and only agenda item tonight for our study session, first one of 2025. Happy New Year to everybody. We are now in this beautiful facility with some refreshments. Priority setting for 2025 North Fair Oaks Council, led by Chief Community Officers and Programming Emma Gonzalez.
Want to open it up and welcome?
Yeah, are there any questions for council members? Or public comments?
Well, thank you. And Chair Prado, just wondering if you want to kick it off and kind of just share your vision, your intent of the retreat today and what you hope to accomplish for the council.
Absolutely. So the intent of our meeting tonight, first of all, is to welcome everybody to our new year and also to kind of set the agenda moving forward for this calendar year. We have a copy of the North Fair Oaks Community Council work plan for 2024. And as we work on 2025, we want to go over what our priorities are as a council and address some of the concerns that we feel are a priority that we can do and what is short-term goals and also long-term goals. And also set priority on those goals, whether they're safety, concerns, or otherwise. That's kind of the intent. So I've asked Emma to help us facilitate this session so we can kind of set our agenda for the remainder of the year.
Great, thank you. And it is going to be broken up into 2 parts. One today, we'll start a good amount done, about 3/4 done. And then my counterpart, and you might have met her, another facilitator, Debbie Schaefer, she will cover the end part. Can you guys all hear me? Well, maybe I'm okay. Okay. And she will cover at the next meeting next week and finalize everything. So we'll break it up into 2 sections. But really today, I want to first thank you guys for your commitment to be on this council. It's a lot of time. It's a commitment that you, because of your commitment into North Fair Oaks. And that really is an advisory board to the supervisor. And now Supervisor Gaucher. You guys will make these recommendations, make impactful recommendations on what's in the best interest and align that to your mission statement. And we'll come back to that shortly. But what I wanted to do is kind of, and that commitment lies to, there's 10 regular meetings a year, 10 to 11, another 6 study sessions. That's 18 meetings in a year. And so thank you. Thank you for that commitment. And thank you for all being here today. As we have about plus or minus 25 commit boards and commissions on that currently serve now. But I wanted to give you some ideas of, and kind of highlight some of the other commissions and some of their goals, just as an example. The Veterans Commission, one of their goals was the commission specifically advocate for the South San Francisco shuttle to stop at Homa Veterans Village because it wasn't stopping there. So that then allowed the veterans with mobility issues, and they don't have to walk more than half a mile and cross the street through heavy traffic. So it really is, I talked about, here's what we want, and this is the desired outcome we want. It's very specific. So those are the types of things that I will ask. We're gonna go through this. These are your goals. This is your work plan, and these are gonna be your vision statements. And so this is led by you, will be yours, but it also, we want to encourage you to come up with smart goals. We're also going to take an opportunity to kind of walk you through what the agenda will be like. Today's agenda will cover, next slide, please. We're going to recap on your 2024 priorities that were established. I'd like to then move into what are, and identify some, just a value exercise. And talk about what are your values? What does that look like? And how do those align with the county, with the Northborough community? And then we'll go through your mission statement. And then start to do priority setting for 25, 26. The question is, I would ask, it's at your, you have the option to say, do we want to do a priority setting for 1 year for 2025, or do we want to do it for 2 years? Again, those are things for you to consider. And then always reassess it at the end of a year to say, how are we measuring against each of those priority goals? And then we'll look at what our next steps, and then also get an evaluation of what today's meeting, how's it going. So let's start with reviewing and recapping on the 2024 priorities. In front of you, I hope each of you received your packet. I know that there's one missing, but this was the last draft that the district shared with me. Was the Northborough Community Council work plan and draft, or not, and their priorities for 2024. So those were addressing parking issues, or addressing parking, the Small Business Association, and opportunities for green space, led by George, Kathleen, and Kelly. And so I think at this time, what I'd like to say is, and ask the group, how did we do? How did we do against each of those? And we could take one at a time. But before I start, let me just, I mentioned group agreements. I just, I think it's always important just to listen for understanding, and you can ask questions. It's a shared space. There's no wrong answer, no wrong opinion. Everybody's open. And you could put your technology on silence just so that we can take full advantage of it. And I asked, let me help you guide you through this process and just be open to the process. So as we look at recap on the 2024 agenda priorities, how do we measure against on addressing parking? And again, I'm not going to go through specifically, but we can look to this. And I don't think the parking one is in here, or the small business one is in here. Okay. Anyway.
Parking was terrible. And that responsibility was on me to kind of oversee. I don't feel I did a great job with that one. Many reasons why, a lot of excuses, but honestly, didn't have the resources to do it. We have a lot of challenges. We sat down with, I can't remember which community it was, but they came in to give us a presentation on how their parking structure was laid out, how they had enforcement, parking permit plans. And then it came down to funding and resources, which we don't have. So how do we implement these kind of plans without funding and resources?
And I think that that's what we're going to get to. I think that, the challenges was how do you develop a plan without funding and resources? Again, using I think that where we're gonna get to is using what I just used as an example of the veteran service. And so really encouraging you to be very specific on what was that designed on? What were you trying to achieve?
I wanted to get a parking garage, parking structure built, somewhere on Middlefield, ideally, Middlefield second, that was the big one. That was one of the biggest ones that I kept pushing for.
So an advisory, so think of that. I don't think that you failed. I don't think so. I just think it was, and perhaps it was not a failure, the lack of, it was it achievable? Is it realistic?
It's a long term.
It's a long term. So again, a work plan today, we're gonna talk about what are those realistic, very specific, realistic work plan that you could achieve. And there still could be long-term goals. That's by far, and that's where you could provide, and you'll get some of that information through your work plan. But I do want to say that, you know, that is a very long-term goal, and I think that also does, and we talked about it, funding resources. And as an advisory board, you don't have that budget, you can't make that happen. So there's also, you know, but you can, if that is something of, you can provide recommendations, you can talk about that, but you can provide that advisory.
Which from that perspective, of actually providing and pushing for that initiative, speaking with supervisors, yes, I pushed the heck out of it.
Yeah, and it talks about, I think in here, there was some door-to-door communication, negotiate with employers, to empty the lots, outside of the box solutions, and find smaller lot solutions. So those are just some of the things that I see in the middle field of the parking. Anybody else want to take a step on? Talk about some of the other ones?
Parking one, I think we found our hands somewhat tied. We tried to get Stanford to like, come on, like you sharing the process of all of this, and it's gonna take way more than what we could do, and they wouldn't do anything, but that would be one that I would
Yeah.
love to see the
It's
Board of Supervisors take on, which is Stanford's start sharing some space, but
it's their
that-
space, like we can't force them to do this.
yeah, but I mean, but our hands were tied because they just kept saying, no, we'll give you health fairs instead. So, but we were trying to address something that mattered to the community. So from that standpoint, yeah, we can find, we can find simpler things to do, but it is something that matters to the North Fair Oaks community.
And not to
So,
say that whatever your work plan comes up with, that you're gonna get to the priorities, because everything matters. We acknowledge that, and parking doesn't. But also as a council, keep in mind is there are priorities, and there's a work plan, and there's the ability to take action. But we also want to acknowledge that advisory, what, you know, what that goal would look like. Small business, green space.
small business, we just disagreed about how to go about it. I mean, you had one idea, I had another idea, and then it just kind of
Disagreement on approaches.
on approaches, yeah, on how
Or-
to best start it. Whether was a bigger association, was it needing funding, or was it starting more grassroots? And then it just kind of, actually, we were told to kind of drop it.
It's never told to drop it.
Yeah, we were told to drop it,
So
so
leave it alone.
kind of gave up. It's no longer was a priority.
What, was it no longer open?
Yeah.
We'll put that down.
They're gonna-
Green space?
Yeah, so can report out and just want to honor that Niket was actually leading this with my assistance, and he's not here, so I'll report out, but I just want to tell him that I was not the leader on this. Niket and I met actually meeting with Public Works and Supervisor Slocum to try to beefing up the tree ordinance for years. I mean, I remember the first meeting with my daughter in like the middle of COVID when we were all on Zoom. And we worked with them to get the ordinance. We finally got it to a place, and just acknowledging Supervisor Slocum was instrumental. And I mean, we put the heat on him, but he also put the heat on the various agencies to make it happen, and it just got voted in and approved recently, yay.
Well, tree ordinance.
Yeah, so, and we also, Niket and I separately met with Canopy and some other advocates to see what some of the barriers were to, even when you're providing free trees, for rental establishments, small businesses, people were really reticent because they didn't want to take on the responsibility. And so I think there's, what I would say is like, if I had to give it like red, yellow, green, I wouldn't put it fully in the green because recognizing constraints, we worked within like ordinances, but how efficient is an ordinance if nobody knows about it? And I've recently had some experiences in my neighborhood where what is the enforcement when it's not met? And who do folks call and what does that look like? And I've sort of as a citizen, I'm working privately with Public Works to come up with that. But I would say that would be the next frontier, is starting with communication as well as letting the community know what, I don't think people sometimes don't take trees down out of malice. This one that recently just happened, the insurance company told them to take it down, so it was literally right next to their garage. That makes sense. But you have to get a permit for that, and there are reasons for that, and it's revenue also for the county. So I would say it's a yellow, and with communication and understanding enforcement and agency support.
And what I heard from you also is one, we successfully now have a tree ordinance.
Yes.
It was adopted. You
Well, there
also-
was a tree ordinance, it's just.
It was revised.
Revised.
There was also input. The council was able to get input. You were able to talk to the departments. You were able to provide that input feedback that was then later adopted this revision. But those are all great successes. But you also have some lessons learned. I think each of the areas have some lessons learned. If we could just take about 5 minutes and just say, what are those lessons learned? What did we learn? What did you learn from that? When you worked on that work, and that could help us as we start to do some, when we start to get into priorities for the 25-26.
What's interesting is in understanding the other, and I had, very limited view, but I would say the green spaces, there was already a community in North Fair Oaks advocating for preservation issues and protection of the canopy. So I would say that was sort of a bottom up advocacy effort, and some of the, and required less resources, and had less, I would say, monetary constraints. The top two, I would say, are more like up down in terms of rallying the community and having support from the county and others.
No, wait.
Oh.
Top down, tell me a little bit more about top down. And how I can describe it.
Because we worked to get existing ordinance, make them stricter, to secure vacant lots, to provide additional much needed parking requires, resources and constraints that I would say really requires not probably even just our own district board supervisor, but all of the supervisors to weigh in and prioritize. And so to me, that's sort of the difference. And also what we did not require any cash outlay from or budgetary budget for it to make it happen.
Okay, that was helpful. Anybody else?
Just to add one event, we talked about the Small Business Association. Partially under that was the car show that we pushed. I felt that was very successful. Also, when spoke to numerous businesses up and down Middlefield, many of them said that I think it was, Skeena said they got about 600% additional business that one day. And it's helped their growth as well. A couple of the restaurants on the street said that helped grow their business by over 50%. So small events like that, it goes.
That was a great event. Good job. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it was a great.
Straight event. And I know not this December, the prior December, there was the really cute Christmas. I wasn't on the community council at the time that I attended. In
The
that
holiday
same,
event.
yeah, the holiday event, which I think also was really cute. And
Yeah, we did, holiday event, yep.
Yeah.
We did it. This December as well. Great.
Last thing on parking, Emma, I remember we had a session where I believe it was Redwood City came in,
Mhm.
sheriff spoke, and we had somebody from the county come in. And he or she, whoever it was, gave kind of an overview of the work that's been done. Probably going on 7, 8 years now in terms of
Related to the parking permit.
related to
Yeah.
the permit, but there was a lot of,
Claire, or, yeah.
there was a lot of really good detail that I plowed through there. This is kind of backward looking and forward looking, but I think we're going to continue to look at this. We need to go back and take a look at that work because a lot of time money got spent on it. Problems only got worse. But I think some of the alternatives, the thoughts that went into that could help us kind of accelerate, whatever we'd like to do going forward. So kind of as a parking lot thing, we start talking about 25, that's something to follow up on, maybe to go back and revisit that, really dive into the details of it, because there's good work to do.
I agree. So would it be like looking at alternatives? And so perhaps it's not the work plan, not developing a brand new garage, but looking at alternative
What was
ways for
done,
parking
it's an awful lot of thought.
to address the parking. Alternative ways, yeah. Sounds great.
Can we please have you guys speak into the mic? Thank you.
Like to add something along the lines of parking. And really to any of those points, they seem to me like they need a multi-pronged approach, especially the parking and the trees and green spaces. I think that the Small Business Association, if the business owners receive support, they may be able to kind of sustain, their own association, which would be ideal. I think, it would be best for the business owners to have their own association because obviously they know more than, except for those of us who have owned businesses or still do. It wouldn't be good for our council to be managing, the business association, but it would be good for us to provide some sort of support as they need it. But in terms of the trees and green spaces and the parking, it's really difficult to find one single silver bullet that is going to fix the problem, especially the parking. I think we need to take a look at various alternatives and, for example, be able to utilize during the day, maybe parking lots of churches, so that if the church is not in session, it can serve as a public parking, Monday through Friday between certain hours, etc., accommodating, of course, their operation. But also at the same time, we need to have to create raise awareness, to those of us who live in North Fair Oaks about how many cars we own and whether we are actually using all those or do we need help, getting rid of those? Because, there's a lot of junkers that people move from one corner to the next. And I think, you know, maybe providing help for people to know that, you know, if they can donate their vehicle, you know, they may get a tax write-off, or if they don't, you know, some other way of, you know, fixing it up and selling it so that they don't have it there as a burden and, you know, also as a junker, just moving around and utilizing space. And then, because I was thinking about, you know, what George was saying, and, you know, you haven't failed. I mean, I've been here in the council for 10 years and, you know, with parking has always been a constant problem, you know. So it's not easy to tackle that one. And so, but maybe, I don't know, building a second or a third floor on the parking lot at Second and Middlefield Road, you know, that would multiply the number of spaces that can be added into that single parking lot already. So we're coming out of when Middlefield Road, before the fixing up, you know, we used to have more parking spaces there and we lost a bunch of those. So now is a matter of making up for the parking spaces that we lost there at the same time.
However, I'm gonna actually tell you that we're actually 12 parking spaces more than we were before the construction.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
So that's good information, I need to know. And, you know, I think that what I captured was the alternative ways, alternative opportunities, but really to break it down. And maybe it's, you know, to look at, and how do we break it down into what are those other milestones, other outcomes that we would like to see.
Right.
So in front of, yes.
I also just want to say, I know some of this, it's interesting you said that, because I think some of this is a perception issue, because Middlefield, the redesign, while making it more available for pedestrian and bike traffic, did reduce some of the parking spaces there. And then I know this new daylight rule that's going into effect is also eating some of the parking spaces. I know you've added others, but I think the perception that most people are seeing is that they've lost these very visible on high traffic streets, and you've added in other areas that perhaps was a communication.
Yeah, and that's Middlefield alone. Like, I want to acknowledge that that's Middlefield. North Roads. I also just want to, this is information you guys don't know. It's a 1.25 square mile radius. It's the most densely populated and unincorporated. We have about 15,000 people. Multi-families also contributes to the number of vehicles, homes, and addresses. So those are all things that we're aware of. So as we start to think of those priorities and really level set, I think that's important to be aware of. In front of you, we're going to move on, if that's okay. And thank you. This was all good information. I think this is all these lessons learned is going to help better inform. I hope will help inform as when you guys get into your work with. And also looking at perhaps these are the same priorities, maybe they're going to be different priorities. Or maybe we're going to break it down to alternative solutions as we look at, right, when we start to identify those priorities. So in front of you, you have index cards. We're going to take about 5 minutes for each of you. You have the markers. Maybe you have some markers. Do you have markers for everybody? There's pens for people. Maybe some markers. Not pens. You can just take that.
People, all council members have cards.
Every council, everybody have cards in front of them?
Okay. I guess we do.
All council members should have
Yeah.
about 5 cards. Take about 5 minutes and tell me and write down some value statements. The value statements of, you know, for example, I value my health, right? Well, health could be a value statement, but I eat chips every day. Do I really know? I don't really think about that. And so maybe I value my health and that's why I walk, right? But I think that this is a time to say, what are you valuing? And then we're gonna get into, after we're gonna start narrowing that down, say, what is the council value? Well, let's start working and just thinking about some 5 value statements. Words that you value. And that will, and so just start that for about 5 minutes. Prioritizing your values will be important, and thinking about that from a mission, from a council. It's about 5 minutes. And those values statements will help us inform kind of the goals, the priorities. What did this council would like to achieve? Also, when you're thinking of those value statements, think of, did those align with your own? You're all residents of North Oaks. Right? Oh, we missed that. We left. How's it working? How's it coming along? Yeah. No, just when you think of value, okay, think of how those align to your own personal values. Or those are my values. You're gonna come to 5 and narrow it down, but just start thinking about it.
Can we start sharing? We have them, or are we gonna?
We're gonna do another one more report as soon as everybody's ready.
Okay.
Anybody needs more time? Okay. The next exercise is, I'm gonna get you guys to move a little bit, engage, talk to your fellow. Oh, this is your mission statement. I forgot to share it. Oh. There you go. That's your NFOCC mission statement. It was adopted, approved. You guys could always look at that and revise it if that's not still current. But that is the adopted mission statement. So as you guys have now done this in an individual exercise, I'm gonna encourage you guys to get up and kind of mingle, get to know another partner, another person, and group up in twos. meet, talk to your partner, somebody that you haven't normally worked with, or maybe you have, or somebody you don't normally sit with at the council maybe. And what you're gonna do is now talk about your shared values, have a discussion, and see where you see some common themes. See if you're seeing some common stuff, and then together, the two of you will identify your top 3 priorities. And then we're gonna give you each. Kenny has it. When your groups are signed, we'll give you each, post a sticky, and then you'll report out, we'll do after that in about 10 minutes, we'll see out those, identify top 3 values. For each of those areas, the report. Mr. Talk, or if you want to talk to your partner to the left, but if you want to go over, go over. All right, okay, there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was.
So not personal.
I mean, when you think of the things that value to you, is that something that value? I just,
Um, so with Blair, we kind of came together. We had mostly the same values, same priorities. We put first and foremost, safety. I know it's a very general term, but it's safety in general, whether it's
We value safety.
safety, that's
People,
just
the
in
safety.
general in our community, whether it's traffic safety, whether it's just, pedestrian safety, we value safety in our community.
Okay,
And then second, we put prosperity. And again, that means it's a very general term, but just, prosperity of families, of businesses. And third, we do value affordable housing.
so you value, let's think about that. Affordable housing, is that a value statement or you value that? Okay, affordable housing.
Okay.
Safety, affordable housing, and what was the third one? Prosperity. And next.
I think we have very similar ones. Represent. I think we had very similar alignments to the last message. We obviously want the safety of our community, want all that, whether it be street safety or anything else.
Safety.
We want to finish what we started. I mean, we can get into that more of that later, but we start a project, we need to finish it. We want to represent our community and business owners. I'm sorry, I'm reading it wrong.
But I heard safety is the first
Safety is a big
value.
one. That's a big one.
What was the second one?
Quality of life for our residents.
Quality of life.
And third one is economic growth and economic prosperity for our residents.
Economic prosperity. And the second one, remind me again, I think we got the
Quality of
Quality of life.
quality of life. And economic prosperity.
We have equity,
Equity,
we have collaboration, and we have the environment,
equity, collaboration, and
the environment.
environment. What was the other one?
Equity, collaboration, and environment.
All right, thank you.
So we said, we value our well-being of the community and also safety was another, and family and unity.
Well-being.
Community.
Oh, yes, well-being. Oh, well-being and the community. Safety was another one.
And family and unity
Community.
together.
Green, we can say the green. Sorry. Oh, this one. Mhm. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep them all so you guys can see where they belong. Oh, it's green, sorry. Try to make it good for you guys. As you're seeing, we got some things happening clearly, right? Yeah, one more.
Safety.
Again, Beatriz.
Family and unity.
Family.
That was. We're missing family.
Well-being, safety.
Okay, safety. Oh, another safety. That's safety. Safety. Practically something here. Would we say that economic prosperity also goes with the quality of life, or do we see that as a different value?
See it as a separate one, the business relationship.
So we want to say business, at a business, economic, from a business perspective. Can you just also? And prosperity here is bringing.
It's not business specific, it's more a prosperity of the community, which includes the business, because given the complexity of our communities that we live in, you know, we live in the business and residential area, and it's the prosperity of one is the prosperity of the other.
So it's kind of a mix, right?
Yeah.
Between business and residential. How does this look, guys? Does it make sense? Is this aligned to the values of the council? Because it's all three, safety, clearly, quality of life to our business, to our community, to affordable housing. It's all part of quality of life and making sure families are well, united, intact. And then there's the world. The environment, something, is that environment of climate, or environment of?
Climate, as in natural resources.
Climate. And then equity. Making sure it's fair cost. These are great. So this is gonna help, I hope, help inform as we start to go into the priorities that. So the chair, I look to you now to kind of kick us off and tell us a little bit about what your vision is, what you would like to see, maybe set some kind of, as the chair. Set some of those goals and give us some directions on how you would like to see priorities, the future priorities, and what is important to you. And tell us what you could do.
Yeah, I think what we shared, and I think we can see the consistency here, that, you know, we're all here pretty much for the same reasons, and our personal values and the values that we would like to see in the community are pretty consistent. And I put safety as number one. So if you were to ask me, what's the most important one, or what do I foresee in the community as far as a priority, is safety. Because for me, if we don't have safety, whether that be, again, traffic safety, pedestrian, you know, violence, domestic violence, there's a lot of safety concerns in our community. And for me, that should be our priority. Because if we don't have that, we don't have prosperity, we don't have quality of life. And that's not to say that, you know, equity or environmental concerns are not important, but for me, safety is a important one. Now, going back to what Emma said in the beginning, let's be realistic. What's within our scope? You know, it's just what we're talking about. Yes, it would be nice to have a 3-story parking structure. That would be awesome. And it could be done. Maybe not in the next year or two, but it's a long-term thing. But when it comes to safety, given the importance of it, you know, we have to use our resources when it comes to that. So we do have our resources. We have our sheriff's department, we have our CHP, and we have a lot of resources in the county when it comes to safety. So we can become an advocate for those concerns. So I do feel that's something tangible. I do feel it's something that we can take small bites out of at a time, you know, focus in one specific thing. Because when you talk about safety, it's a big, broad theme. But if we focus and take one thing at a time and say, okay, out of the safety, what's more important? What needs to be addressed, you know, ASAP? How do we go about that? And so that's for where I foresee we moving short term on this.
Thank you. You know, one of the things I think I want to just share that Juan Carlos shared with us as what planning is. That was really important to him. And I think it comes back to the lessons learned. These are driven by you. These are your priorities. This council, not the counties, not the districts. They're your priorities. And that's something that was very clear when we've met with Juan Carlos, is that he wants to make sure that it's very transparently clear that these are the council's goals and priorities. What are those desired outcomes? And as lessons learned is whether someone said yes, no, maybe so, but we really want to empower this group. So I want to kind of also acknowledge that. I hope that's okay with Juan Carlos.
Yes.
And I think as you start to think of safety, I'm gonna give an example. And safety, as you said, safety is very big. But perhaps the priority is pedestrian safety on Middlefield Road. And we want to reduce or create a street, like, so you're being very tangible. We're actually, you talked to me. And you said, what's a priority to you or to this council, what you've heard from the residents is minimizing traffic calmness on Fair Oaks Avenue between Second and Fifth. And so now we're bringing that item forward. We're asking for the data, the research, and where are the accidents, and then asking for what are some alternative mitigations. But those are tangible, they're specific, but I'm giving you that as an example. The priority is still safety, but we're gonna talk about it from a work plan, and a priority is pedestrian safety on Fair Oaks Avenue between Second and Fifth Avenue, and what are you trying to achieve? So part of our priorities is right now, we're not gonna get into the specifics, but I will ask that each of them, if you could give each, 2 sheets, same color. And you're gonna take a minute to talk and think about individually, what is a priority for you? But what is that desired outcome? I always think of what's the problem you're trying to fix? And what's that desired outcome that you like to see? Is it fewer accidents on Fifth Avenue? Again, I'm giving you these, but very, very tangible. So think of what's the problem we're trying to solve? And what's a priority to you, and then think of what's that desired outcome to?
And are we doing it just for the safety aspect?
No,
Or-
whatever priorities, you identify what you believe. is the priority.
Are we doing this individually or with our partner again?
Actually, if you wanna, you can partner up with your partners and each come up with 2 priorities. 2 to 3, and then we can break it down, we'll get to the 3. But we can go inside, you can use the same worksheets, okay? What I'd like to get to is that each of the groups identify two priorities.
So let's talk one, safety. PGD with always.
And again, don't think of safety, don't think more, kind of, get a little deeper into it.
I was thinking pedestrians.
My understanding is. What's that? That's
It's a.
Something that is actually doable. For our
And it's also. It is a.
nice thing.
It's one of the
Priority.
I watch people like almost get in. And I also just. With the street light, because that is dangerous. Yeah. Okay, so. Pedestrian areas like. Chavez.
Because I think. But I think it's. So that are having a systematic.
This means already.
Even if it is, we don't know.
So
Or we can, or.
Yeah.
Have that annual.
Is it resources?
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so do.
So that would be a good problem.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
So this is like the national, right? That's like the. Little variance. What?
$1,000, John.
Yeah.
That's what's so. That's what we can do is go on.
Like there's like a street light every like. Generally. Especially. Then we have an event, but also people that I think. 4 o'clock. When they do that, they do it. Or walking the dog. It's scary, so. Street light. I'm gonna put this one at like the crossing thing.
What we are.
That's right. Yeah. It was like, it was sunny, it's Sunday, and I was like, oh, this is your. Like, mine. I would specifically where there are like street vendors, because I think it's a good.
I'll let you know. I was at another meeting. You know what, it's your attitude.
So again, you're thinking about priorities, right? We're gonna start to narrow down those priorities.
Because I think the bigger is where. You can identify where our goal or whatever.
Texas wanted to push back.
And what I'd like to do is now, take a minute to just do a report out. And maybe, talk about it. Anybody want to take a stab? Juan Carlos, you want to start with you?
Yeah,
Is it individual or is it a group?
it's with my yeah. Well, as you know, we put safety, but more specific pedestrian, and even more specific than pedestrian, we put kids and seniors and disabled persons.
Okay. Any other one? I'll take those.
Cyclists. And then like cars would be last, but
Yeah, cars will be like
most vulnerable.
kids and seniors. No, that's it. We put two in one.
Kelly and Beatriz.
Oh, yes.
Well, kind of goes in hand, a little bit more specific, but we said pedestrian safety specifically on 8th and Middlefield Road. More street lighting there, especially, well, a crosswalk, a lighted crosswalk there.
So pedestrian safety is one. Right, and then, lights,
On that street.
oh, pedestrian safety with lights. Okay, pedestrian safety and lights. Just a second.
Because you brought up that other way, how you do Burnham and like. Which I think is
It's okay, they're gonna rewrite it. Okay, you're good. Sorry, that's why you're.
You want the cross, be able to cross.
Well, there
cross the
is a
street?
crosswalk, but we want it lighted.
Oh, lighted crossing.
And I think that was just sort of like one example of like a high traffic area that doesn't have a lighted.
Okay, pedestrian safety again. Okay, got it. Is that, what's another one?
Another one, we said more lights in densely populated areas, specific, like where Hoover Elementary School is, there's a lot of street vendors there, so we want to make sure that they're safe We will say, yep.
That's outside of North Fairhope.
You could.
But,
Fair Oaks
but it says.
Fair Oaks.
Yeah, but you want different lights, is what I'm getting.
Yes,
So, but then, so more safety.
yes.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Like, not crosswalk lights over there, and then,
Neighborhood lights, neighborhood street lights?
Yeah.
So neighborhood street lights, if we could just take that, do you have that?
Yep.
We'll write it down, neighborhood street lights. Is there a particular? No, we don't need that, neighborhood street lights.
our general thing is like
Yeah.
densely populated, there's just not a lot of light.
And all North Fairfield.
Five.
Yeah, you have to get that, okay.
Especially right now with Middlefield Road too. It's very dark. After 4:35.
You have another one? Okay.
We have our own. I still go back to, I like the economic prosperity for the community, I think.
Can you speak a little louder on
Oh,
that?
So I think the heart of North Fair Oaks is really Middlefield Road. And I really still believe that uplifting Middlefield Road would bring a lot of goodwill and feeling to North Fair Oaks and would kind of put us on the map as a real place and not just some unincorporated area that gets whatever it gets.
So
So
is that your priority?
uplift it.
Is it small businesses?
it would start with the small businesses.
Okay, so small businesses, can I get just the post-it that says small business? Small business, on Middlefield Road?
Okay.
Keep it on small businesses and then it could be. right?
Okay, sure.
There's a priority. We can write it. We can write it. Small business.
Economic prosperity.
Support the small businesses, is that what I'm hearing?
It means support. It means doing more activities, more car shows, more just bring uplift.
About it.
Another one?
Yeah, I thought that, going along with the equity, is something that we could do as a council would be devising an effective way for council to respond to community suggestions in public comment. It feels like, people come to give public comment and then nothing happens and people perhaps don't even hear back ever. And of course, we cannot provide an answer or a response on the spot. But I think if there was a way for our council, perhaps via the vice chair or something, emailing back to whoever gave public comment, a response, even if it is, we don't know, or no, we cannot do this, anything, I think, as a way to give people a formal answer to their inquiry, I think it would be great. This could serve, people better and encourage more civic engagement. Perhaps that would come.
Before I don't want to put words in your mouth, is the priority outreach engagement or is the priority public comment? I mean, responding to public comments. I'm trying to understand what the priority.
Yeah, no, the main goal would be to give people a formal answer. Devise,
I know what you're saying.
a form of our council to get back to people who come to give public comment.
So public comments is, responding to public comments is a priority.
Yeah.
Can I add to this? Then correct me if I'm wrong. It's something I think we discussed as well previous year. Holding us accountable, holding all of us, the county, ourselves accountable, maybe having a tracker that we do a readout in the beginning of the council meeting saying, hey, from our last council meeting, here's the public comment we have. Have we followed up on anything? Instead of just hearing it and moving it along, what action items have been taken care of?
Right. Yeah, and perhaps there can be a report, when the vice chair gives the report out to say, I got back to
Okay.
public comment, whatever. I mean, we could think about
So what I wrote is responding to public comments and then i.e. tracking them. By saying at the end of that meeting, what are the action items and is there anything, what are we bringing forth? Maybe that's agenda setting, whatever that may be. Okay. Brooks. input?
We kind of did them separately. You go
Yeah,
first.
go ahead.
I got three.
Go for it.
Parking, getting cars off the road would be the desired outcome. And threw a couple of ideas on there. I stole, Everardo's idea about cash for clunkers.
Okay.
Just offering people money. Figuring out what's going on at Second and Edison. I don't know. Last I heard was that development was on hold or wasn't going to happen,
Mhm.
which might open that piece of property up and could be.
So is the priority finding alternative parking solutions?
Getting cars off of our streets, I guess.
Getting
would be-
cars off the streets,
would be the-
overcrowded parking. Okay, overcrowded parking. In the residential area? Or does it? regardless?
It kind of
Okay.
spills over, so.
Okay,
And as far as open space, increasing the amount of green spaces / pocket parks that we have.
okay,
in the community,
increasing green
um,
space, pocket parks.
And I'm probably going down one level too much, but talking to SMTUC about, creating or even just tiny little quarter acre.
And that could be in part of the work plan, so.
Okay, well, I can
Okay.
say about that. And then the other thing, and let's speaking kind of to your department is immigrant services. And raising the awareness for the services that your team provides immigrants for, I think, obvious
So
reasons.
building awareness around immigrants,
Yeah,
about resources available for immigrants.
yeah, I want people to hear about it so often, they're sick of hearing, it, quite honest, but
Kind of access to resources.
absolutely. Legal,
Access to
whatever,
resources.
workshops, whatever.
Access to resources, and building awareness about access to resources. It's all the same. Building awareness about access to resources.
That's all.
Great, thank you. Are we missing anything? Got everything there, but anything?
I haven't gone.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Just want to double down on what Brooke said about parking. Cash for clunkers, I think the state has a program. I think they give you $1,000 just for turning in your car for 2007 and older. So just having that awareness and putting it out there to the public and letting them know that there is free money for you. Also, if you just want to upgrade your car, I think they have a program, it may have ended this year, but they had it last year. If you want to convert to electric or hybrid, they'll give you, I think, up to $10,000 or $11,000.
So the priority one right now is still the parking. and then
But
looking
these are things that we can notify the public
for
of.
alternatives.
Yes. Now, the other thing is going back to safety. One tangible item we can do is, we already have the streetlights there. One thing we haven't gotten is power from PG&E. We don't have electricity to activate that.
So street light is a priority?
Power, not just street light. When you say street light, I'm thinking actual lights that come on at night and you can see down the street on Middlefield, whatever.
So like on Middlefield, we have the street, I'm just trying to get it down.
It's the same thing. I'm
It's
thinking,
just, what the priority is turning on the power on Middlefield Road.
correct.
Okay.
That's the priority. Getting the Middlefield beautification project complete, finishing what we started.
And they're working on it now. They're ready.
Are they?
I think they just sent out notices.
So who, I didn't get one.
It went to the businesses all on Middlefield because they're breaking it out in phases. I could pull up that.
Oh, I'd love to get an
They
update on
started off.
Okay.
They're running the wires now. PG&E is
That's
starting next.
great news.
Yeah.
Okay, well then we can knock that priority off.
It takes time though, and I'm concerned about PG&E changing their priorities and laying our work while they go do something.
And
else.
that requires political pressure.
Yes.
And that's what they have received political pressure from them.
Okay,
So we still will put it on there.
okay.
It is your PG&E power on Middlefield Road.
So, all right, well, that's an easy one. All right, last one. Going back, please,
I'm just saying, see how powerful your voice is. You're starting on Tuesday, George.
you're welcome.
Tuesday, I heard you. We're channeling George.
Economic values. Trying to turn North Fair Oaks into an economic zone. Things that we can incentivize growth in that area. For example, we can somehow find, if we can somehow find a way to work with the county to lower taxes, sales taxes for the businesses on that street. Make it so that people want to come and shop in our district a little more. Lower capital gain taxes for real estate in that area, so that anyone that wants to buy and build, they see it as an investment for their future, the
On
families.
Middlefield Road?
Well, not just Middlefield Road, in NFO, in general.
Got it.
That could be something that incentivizes them to want to stay and build and take care of their community and renovate and make their homes, nicer. Knowing that they're not going to be hit with the capital gains later, they can keep it for themselves and their families. Removing a lot of the red tape in the county to actually do your renovations, do your building, do your construction. We keep talking about we wanted to build more affordable housing. Great. What we're stuck with is affordable housing that gets priority benefits and gets a lot of the red tape removed. Take the same red tape away for regular construction. Let people build. Let us
So
have it.
is the priority affordable housing or our home improvement?
Neither.
Oh, okay.
It's creating an economic zone, which will have multiple tangible changes to allow us to make it a economic zone. Economic opportunity zone, yeah, they have them around the world in certain countries and certain districts, and they've proven to just explode in business and just really grow the areas.
Okay. Well, now, these are some great ideas, great priorities. We're seeing some commonalities, we're seeing some common themes. Great, parking, street line, pedestrian, seniors and adults, or seniors and children. Really building awareness, bringing and building awareness about the resources and access to these. That's a priority. Small business development, small business support, which is really into that economic zone, growth opportunity, finding those. And how do we, the public comments, responding to public comments. Now, we're gonna narrow that down to what are the top two or three priorities, right, Juan Carlos? For the council. To then identify out of the ones you have here, we're gonna do a little dot exercise. And you're gonna get each 3 dots. 3 dots, everybody got 3 dots?
Yep. Oh.
And you're gonna get up there and look at them and start picking your top 3.
I have to ask.
No, we have more. Sure.
We went meeting after meeting asking for something to be done for the 2 intersections, second. Or the stop signs. And we got nowhere. And so now we're gonna ask for streetlights and that's gonna happen. I mean, I'm not.
No, right now, what I'm hearing is you're identifying what the priority is. It's not the work plan. And I think what happened, and I'll speak to it, was there was a presentation and request to say, would there be can we consider putting a stop sign on Second or somewhere between Second and Third, somewhere around there, plus or minus the area, right? And the response for DPW was, it wasn't that it can't be done, it just can't be done now. And they provided the explanation of a process is we have to finish Middlefield Road. They have to do a mitigation study after that. And so that's all incorporated in their work plan. It just can't be done today. But alternatively, they have notified the sheriff's office, the SO's office, the CHP. So they're out there doing more enforcement. So that was the takeaway that after all those meetings, that I have on my notes that came out as a result. But I don't believe, Kathleen, that it's not that they're not willing to do it or they're not going to do it. It just is in their workflow, project flow process for DPW. And it will then be an assessment of kind of a mitigation study, a study that takes place. And I don't know the exact word, and I don't know Adam or traffic flow. A traffic.
They wanted the traffic to settle.
Yeah, they have to wait for it all to settle down, Middlefield Road to settle down for them to do an effective study. And that's their normal business practice.
So what does it take to get a street light?
On Middleville?
No, anywhere. What does that take?
I think that that could be a question. I can't answer that question today. I don't know. I don't have anybody here from planning, but we can definitely parking lot it and what does it take to get a street light? I mean, there are ways that you can get a street light. There's actually, if you go to DPW, actually, I can't answer them. If you go to DPW, it'll give you instructions and we can get that sent to you. It's how do you get a street light in your neighborhood? I'm only because I am this process. And you have to get more than 50% of your homeowners to sign on that street. And you gotta get signatures, you gotta submit an application and you submit it to DPW. But what I can do is send you that step. So there is a process and that's available through the Department of Public Works.
Right. Thank you for that example. I've gone through that process.
Oh, so you're familiar with it?
I am.
Okay.
And it puts so much onus on individual residents to try to rally and get the signatures of the support. I think,
And it's
What-
not rental, not the tenants.
oh, I
It's the
know,
home.
it's the owners. It's also the same when you're trying to
Yeah.
get.
Oh, you're familiar, okay.
And yeah, I just did this also with the curbs.
And I was able to get a street light.
But I think what Kathleen is asking, and maybe this is a question for planning, is that what can we do as a council to take on that body of work so that the responsibility doesn't sit with individual residents who navigate the process, have to reach out and canvass their neighborhoods and literally follow up with people repeatedly, and figure out who the owners are half the time. So I think the question is that Kathleen is asking, which is a good one, is this something that this council, to your point when you started, we want to be laser focused on things we can have impact on. Is getting streetlights beyond the individual resident process possible for this council?
I think that it is, and I can answer is that there is a process. And the example that you gave is, you could work with your individual community, because if I block you guys on, I put up the dots where everybody lives. And, you know, getting to know, one, does build that awareness, even within your community, within your residents of that. But again, I go back to, is that a priority? Let's finish this, if we finish this dot exercise. But I also still think you can accomplish that same street like residential area by building awareness within our community. I don't know if there's anything.
No, I know you're asking about like, is there a way to have, work through that process in a different way? There is power in the supervisors, and you guys do get to have that directing out to the supervisor. So doesn't mean they can bypass all provisions, but there's certainly an ability to get focus of the Department of Public Works in a way that you might not otherwise through concerted action or recommendations by council. I don't know that you'll necessarily be able to change the rules, but you may be able to, impact elevated issue, which you guys get done.
And I think some of those things have been elevated. An example is Kathleen, you did a great job by elevating the need of North Fair Oaks and Spot George. And many of you about when there was a need they were about to close during COVID. You met with the supervisor, you pleaded, you shared your case. And through that, $1 million came forth to the small businesses on North Fair Oaks. So that's an example of your influence does make change and does benefit. It was the direct communication to the district office and to the supervisor. That's the influence that this group has. So now I'm gonna just take a few more minutes. You guys each have 3 dots. You guys can just take a look, take a step back. Again, here's your values that could serve. If you can put up a mission statement too. But if you lead and say, what are your top 3 priorities?
But the stickers only go on these 10.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Got it. Yeah.
Oh, now it's, well, no way. You know.
That would be good.
We don't have to take anything out, guys. No, they're not removed. We're gonna, this is broke.
Yeah.
This is starting.
I don't remove anything. It just shows that where your priority. This will help guide your parking.
But you get rid of it.
How many comes of the education?
Yeah.
Yeah. We only have 3.
Don't look at I'm Andy watching you where you're putting your thoughts. Don't feel like-
Yeah, that pressure, you have to put it on the one he wants you to put on.
It's just a title.
I was gonna.
Do you use your regional doubles? Did you use your regional doubles?
She is pretty good.
She's, it's a very, very base. It's that it's. How to. No, so. Yes. So it's like. She could just have that on.
All right.
All right.
Well, comes up to your, Blair, you voted, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Replace. Come on, Blair.
So what came out of this was, these are all, these are all Dairy Queen. Let me just these are all important. But when we did the not exercise, what comes out is pedestrian safety, parking, fixing this overcrowded parking issue, and finding alternative solutions, tangible, alternative solutions, and achievable. And then economic growth, small business develop, I mean, it's not small business development, but it sounds like it's support, small business.
It's supports everything.
And I almost think it's small businesses and then it's like economic growth and opportunity. Those are your, no, it's not?
Because economic zone is different. You're actually kind of rebranding and reclassifying the actual district. And it supports the small businesses first.
So I think I heard you guys put these together. Do you see them as separate or do you guys see them as the same? I think that's a larger discussion for the group. When you think of these dots, do you see the economic zoning opportunities as a priority? Different than supporting our small business community?
But you help the small business community through the economic zone.
Okay, so economic develop, creating our economic zone is a priority.
I think it's not that small businesses isn't a piece of that, it's just not the only.
Yeah, not the only.
So then this, but I only have 2 dots there.
Oh, join.
No.
But at the same time, the ultimate goal is to help the business community here in North Fair Oaks, which happens to be, a lot of small businesses.
Okay. So now we have 3 priorities. We have 8 council members. I'm gonna ask you guys to get into small groups now, based on,
What is the third one? Oh, far right?
because they're economic zone growth and
Yeah.
small businesses,
Yeah,
parking, overcrowded parking and looking for alternative ways to solve the issue of, street and pedestrian safety. So using those 3 priorities for the next, through 2025, 26. Now we're gonna break up into small work groups. We're not gonna spend we'll spend a little time, and then I think they'll have a work plan for you. And if you could flip the page, 2, 3. Next. We're gonna start working on we'll begin your work plan when you break into your small groups. We're gonna, and this is gonna be the subcommittees. The subcommittees that will champion each of these priorities. And then develop a work plan that is smart, which is very specific and tangible, measurable, something that you can achieve within the next 1 or 2 years. Achievable. So I don't think we'll build a 2-story parking lot, but you can develop a donation program. Perhaps it's creating programs and build awareness about how to donate cars. Maybe it's collaborating with the county. Maybe it's, I'm just giving you some ideas. And, how is it relevant to your priorities? And then again, time specific. So you would say, for example, I want to have 3, I'm making these up, guys. I'm gonna have 3 community meetings by the end of 2025. And the community meetings are gonna be about car donation programs, or I'm gonna have 2 English and Spanish, and we're gonna do this all by 2025. The goal of reducing the number of, maybe trying to get 20 car donations at an event. Right, I just came up with an idea. But it's probably an idea you guys already talked about, so now let's start thinking of groups. Who's interested? Start thinking of your interests, and then we're gonna break up into those small groups in 3 groups. So it's about 2 or 3 people per group. Any takers on, anyone want to take a lead role on?
interested in parking.
Ever? Okay. Can I get any of those? Ever? Who else? Pedestrian parking, pedestrian. On purpose?
Thank you for Kelly for pedestrian.
Ever? Or ER. Kelly?
KP.
AP. We're gonna have to give AP that one. Economic growth and parking and pedestrian.
Any other economic? Okay, and Brooks.
S. Yes. Anybody else?
Be over.
Really, what is?
That one. Blair. Well, we gotta get you on one of them. You gotta pick something. And again, I would say, no, I know more on pedestrian, unless you're gonna narrow down to two, but we have, we have Blair and Brooks. And again,
And Kathleen has a.
well, let me take a step back. Is three the right number of priorities? Given we're waiting on two people still, but is it three or is it two?
I think it's-
Kathleen, oh, we don't have Kathleen.
Yeah.
here. Sorry,
I know.
I missed you, Kathleen.
I'm tempted to do parking only because I think I have a few ideas that are, but they're outside the box thinking. And then also.
And parking is really looking for alternatives. It's not gonna be the big parking lot.
No, I know.
It's not gonna be
I know.
finding a parking space through health plan. It's gonna be something that's realistic, achievable, and tangible that you can complete by the end of the year.
I have a question. Is D4 gonna open up the, little area that they have at the office? At their office?
What land
Their
is that?
parking?
So I think that's to the.
Yeah.
I think that's still the.
Which one?
So D4 has something to go,
Oh, that doesn't belong to the district
no,
spot.
the other one.
Yes,
Inside.
that right now is not open. We are looking, but that alone, will be very likely, that is gonna be something that will open. The county will do that, but it's also gonna alleviate and bring it to the economic center staff. You know, they don't have anywhere to park right now. They're using the public parking spots. And it'll be gravel, campus cement, there's all these things, but they are gonna be looking at opening one up, yes. That's already in the works. I don't have a date or I don't have a time. Sometime this year, hopefully. You interested in parking?
Yeah, I feel like the parking is boots on the ground, needing someone from D4 to walk and talk to people about.
And right now, it's about what are the priorities for you guys?
But I'm trying to.
And the districts could be in your work plan, but the district aren't operationally, and you can't commit to their staff. You can put that in your work plan. But I think that, and it's safe to say that we're not tapping into, and under the last administration, I think supervisor said, Josh, I think said, Josh, we can work on, X, Y, and Z. I don't know that those assignments or that direction has been made at this point. Is that safe to say under the current, supervisor? So, that is an item for discussion that you can also put in the plan. Not to say you can't, but you can put in the plan. I don't think that, and please speak, I don't think that we can make that commitment today.
I don't think so.
And assignments, right?
Please, if you want to more.
Go ahead and finish.
Brooks?
Sorry,
Did we pick one for you?
yeah, I'm doing, business moment.
Oh. Blair. It's a tough one. Pick one. Come on. Can I get back to Blair? So I have Blair and Kathleen.
So who's in, where do we need somebody?
Economic growth and parking. You only have one person in parking.
Okay, I'll still help on the other one, but I'll do parking. Okay, because that's something good.
Kathleen, Katie. All right. Now I'm gonna ask you guys each to get into your groups. Oh, Blair, Blair is trying to hide over there.
I think Blair needs to be volunteer.
Very good at that.
Blair, do you want to go into economic growth?
That's how Nick Cut ended up running
is
the
there
tree
interest in-
committee. He wasn't even there.
I mean, again, it's whatever's an interest to you. I'll let the chair over there help maybe influence your
No, he said he wants economic.
economic. growth. All right. Whoa. Now you're gonna each have, you guys each in front of you will get your work groups. You have a work plan template. We've talked about SMART goals. Now let's open up to the next screen. It's the work plan template. In your work plan, you'll outline your goal. So your goal is, or your priority is pedestrian, but you're gonna talk about now your goals. But what's the goal and the desired outcome you'd like to achieve under pedestrian safety? The priority is pedestrian safety. Juan Carlos, Kelly, and Beatrice will meet together. And you're gonna say, what's the desired outcome we want to achieve? One, and then start to build that work plan. Again, we're just gonna take a few minutes to start it. You're not gonna finish it today. You're gonna finish it at the next meeting next week. Because what you will do is adopt those 3 priorities, which we guys have all agreed to, right? Have everybody agreed? We're all in agreement that those are the priorities here. And then start solidifying that work plan. We'll start it today. And then you'll have to also think about is how frequently you guys want to meet as a group to get these off going. Part of the lessons learned is trying to let it drop. Maybe we didn't get a chance to regroup on some of these 24 priorities. Looking at some of those things that, looking at your lessons learned and the challenges that you went through last time, that could help influence your work plan. Again, SMART. Be specific on what you're trying to achieve and what is that time frame. So Juan Carlos, Kelly, and Beatriz will meet together for a few minutes. Ever and Kathleen will be together. And then, the 3 here will be together. Do you guys each have your work? Oh, Brooks has his work plan there. So if you guys could work together and start to create a work plan. And talk about what is that desired outcome you'd like to achieve under economic growth. They don't want it. Start with one. Radical, realistic, and get to specific and achievable. What can you achieve? So that when we reassess it, you're like, look at what we were able to do. And we achieved it. So let's say it was part of it. What is that? So you don't have to fill this out. You're using this to come up with it. So what's that desired outcome? Under parking. So everybody wants- Or do you want to? And then start. With that outcome using a SMART. You want me to move it over to you guys? It's pedestrian safely. And then you're pedestrian breaking, what is that, what is it that you want? And you start with that. Yeah, sure.
I guess it's one.
It's a limit. Yeah. Let's say you achieve that.
That's really safety. I wonder if, whether it's shared or did somebody, some sort of.
I got a bunch of great.
So to speak, because otherwise it feels very vague.
I was thinking about something.
And it's expression like.
No, I can just do.
hotspots. Okay, so that's occupied.
Wrap it up?
Yeah.
Wrap it up? All right.
But again, you may not be done,
Yeah.
Who's
but you're starting the
responsible?
conversation.
This group. Let's just leave it at that. Timeline, you said they're presenting tomorrow?
Yeah.
Or, excuse me, next
I would
week.
encourage you guys to, talk about, how do you guys want to continue these in small ad hoc groups?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you want to continue to communicate and move this item forward?
Partners with, Department of Public Works.
You know, exchange, you guys have a, three is not breaking the Brown Act.
I would-
And if you need staff to help you schedule
And they-
teams
they
meetings,
control a lot of the
you need staff to help a group meeting for the 2 of you, 3 of you, we can do that. Let us know that, or if you can do that on your own, but just continue to commit the conversation. It's not a violation of the Brown Act. It's 2 or 3 people meeting.
They say.
The magic number is 3, no more than 3. That's why I have county council right there.
And whenever that happens, because they usually do it on like health and sector, like big section.
You can talk about the frequency that you guys want to meet.
There.
And then be prepared to come next week
That could.
at the council meeting. We're gonna
and
work
other
on
things on-
finalizing and collecting
Because.
those work plans
Road and there's.
to
I will say,
solidify 'em
whenever
and
there's,
complete 'em.
Like those.
But we're about
checkpoints,
8 minutes out.
There's.
I just want to be
more
cognizant of everybody's time.
really dangerous.
Are we ready to report out, what that desired outcome is for each of you, just to kind of get it started?
No. Go ahead.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Juan Carlos?
Yes, we are ready.
This is what that, under pedestrian safety, what is that desired outcome you guys like to achieve?
Well, we would like to see data and information as far as the hotspots in North Fair Oaks.
Hotspots of
Of
accidents?
accidents, heavy pedestrian use, and also in combination with heavy, vehicle use, like high traffic areas,
So that sounds like it's part of your work plan, but what's your outcome you want to get to?
increase safety. That's our outcome.
Increase safety in a specific location, and by what, and how do you define it? I'm gonna challenge you to be smart, to be very specific, because what we wanna do is avoid and use the lessons learned, that they're not lofty or big, but more specific and narrow it down.
I totally understand that, Emma, and I think what we're trying to do is really understand the problem we're trying to solve. And so one of the things we talked about as a group is like, we can anecdotally talk about areas we've seen issues or we've heard, but we want to let the data lead us and then get very micro specific in terms of an action plan. So if, for instance, there's, one area that Juan Carlos has heard of through talking with Public Works and Sheriff and Safety, and they're reporting at next week's meeting, there's an area between Second and Fifth on Fair Oaks Avenue in North Fair Oaks and Redwood City side that seems to be prone with a lot of accidents, traffic, pedestrians. We want to really understand that in looking at a hotspot map to figure out if that is actually where we want to focus. And then what is the solution? Is it, and this is where we've drafted some ideas that it could be speed bumps, traffic
So
enforcement,
it
et
sounds
cetera.
like to me, what I'm hearing is you would like to, the goal is to identify 1 or 2 locations that are using data to inform where you could prioritize and build pedestrian safety.
Correct.
That is the goal, the desired outcome. And the way you're gonna achieve that is through using data, and then be very specific on what's the data collection, what's the heat map, what's that, and by when. So the desired outcome is to identify 1 or 2 locations based on, and how do you want to prioritize that? So I'm working with you guys on what that desired.
Yep.
outcome is.
Great, thank you. for the-
All right.
Yep.
Sure. Kathleen.
Yeah, so we're thinking that we're gonna look into various alternatives to alleviate parking overcrowding of Fair Oaks.
Can you repeat that again?
We're gonna look into various alternatives. looking into various alternatives for, to alleviate, parking overcrowding in North Fair Oaks. And,
Are you looking for additional parking spaces or what does that look like? Because again,
so
we're
we,
gonna use what was last year, what was not achieved and why it wasn't achieved. So I'm just trying to get to the specific.
yeah, no, so we're gonna look at, the alternatives out there to get rid of a vehicle, either, by donation or by purchase. And, other alternatives and present them to the council. Present all those alternatives so that the council can vote and decide, what actions or activities we want to take from, these research, alternatives.
So it's not specifically the idea to alleviate parking by creating a donation program. That's not one. very
Not yet,
specific.
not yet. Yeah,
So
this is
Is the outcome, the goal or the outcome is we want to identify one or two alternative solutions or initiatives, not solutions, initiatives.
right,
So the council to consider to launch one or two, because I think two, it'll be a lot.
right.
So you
Yeah.
would have to identify what is that one initiative you want to move forward. I will, ask you to really think about that one initiative. What is the one initiative you want to do?
Yeah, and so we're gonna present those alternatives and then as a council, we'll decide, what may be more doable.
Right. Blair? Brooks?
So we have, helping the business community grow and improve their business as a goal and an outcome. Three activities. First, leveraging the branding exercise that's going on now for the entire community, making sure there's a business kind of element to that, the business is represented in that consultant's work. Looking at small business improvement grants, I think we talked about the idea of offering business owners grants to improve the look and feel of their businesses and things. What we really didn't do was kind of work with landlords and encourage them and explain the program in the sense that it could improve like the structures of their buildings, things like that, and have the payback of increasing the business that their tenants do. And then something George came up with is looking at the idea of creating an enterprise zone around. But I know nothing about what is possible in California, San Mateo County, something like that. But there may be incentives to help businesses grow and develop and locate.
Yeah, and I would say I think those are great things, and what I'm hearing is really just saying, what part of that, like, again, identifying the one or two things that you want to champion, that you can move forward. And, when we think of storefront, I would encourage you to think of any modification, who's gonna pay for that? Is it gonna cause displacement? Is it gonna cause increase in rent? 75%, if not 80% of those businesses are on a month-to-month lease. They are not the owners.
Oh, yeah.
So, and they're on a month-to-month lease. And that is sad. And, not sad, but that's what it is. That's the truth. We have the research, we've talked to the businesses. We've done that whole analysis. But you have resources for the small business community like Renaissance. And maybe inviting the Renaissance to come and do a presentation of what support already exists for the small business development. Because I know personally, firsthand, how they're already working with small business to do an online presence. So there are stuff that exists, and perhaps we can get Renaissance to come and do a presentation.
And we have a lot of resources to help businesses access capital, like grants or any loans.
Okay.
The thing is that from my experience is, if you want to apply for a grant, you have some type of business plan. And a lot of these businesses don't know that. So we have classes that can assist them with that, but I know a lot of these businesses are pretty busy, sole entrepreneurs. So even connecting them to one-on-ones, we work with SBDC, they can help them with that, and those are free resources that we have.
That's happening now.
Yeah.
And so I think that what would be helpful to, as part of your work plan, they see, ask Renaissance to come and do a presentation at the North Orange Council. by before June. To tell us what are the services available. Man, this is great. And what I'm really looking forward to is you're gonna continue this work, the work plan development. Next week with Debbie. And Debbie will kind of finish that and solidify that. So again, as I said earlier, I encourage you guys to exchange numbers, emails. If you need staff to set up a meeting, a Zoom, a team, we can do that. But how is that frequency? How are you guys gonna continue that? But you don't have to decide that today, but next week, that's something that Debbie will work with. Well, we do have a quick little, or we could just say one word that you're walking away with today. Give you a word that kind of, I know it's 2 hours, we covered a lot. I'm about 2 minutes over, I apologize. I know Juan Carlos is trying to get out of here by 8 o'clock. He's trying to get me out by 8. But what, give me one word when you think about this, like, how did it go?
I feel optimistic if I have to say one word for this year, for
Yeah.
2025.
For this, yeah. Anybody?
Encouraged.
Focus.
Oh. Silence, okay, that's okay. Troubles?
A mix of all, of them. I think optimistic is probably the best.
Very good. I'm glad. This gives me hope. And I hope you all feel like these are your priorities. They're gonna be your work plan. And then we'll be able to celebrate all these successes. That's my goal as staffer to this council. Chair, any last minute remarks?
I hope that everybody found this useful, good use of your time, and we have something to go forward.
And
The only other thing I would add to that, and I've been like sitting here just wondering, I know it's very early. But one of the things I think we learned in the lessons is having, and we talked about what are the things that would grease the wheel moving some of these initiatives forward, and it is having the support of our supervisor, and I know Lisa's obviously
she's gonna come for
still
that,
has the
yeah.
new star smell on her with her role, but how some of these things align with her passions and her priorities is sort of the lingering piece of this puzzle that I'm curious.
And I think that it's gonna be very helpful. Now that you've identified your priorities, you'll have a work plan. So when she comes, I think she's coming around February, March. You're gonna be able to talk about it. She's gonna see where the alignment, we'll give this to her in advance. So we'll be able to share this and then she could speak to it.
Yeah.
The other thing, I think that's all valuable information, alignment and and then I would encourage you to also have this on ongoing report outs. And we could talk about the frequency. But one thing that there's 2 points that I want to make and I want to wrap it up really quickly is the public comments and tracking action items. This could still be done.
I think it's critical.
And this could be done at the end of every meeting, just say, anybody have an agenda item you want to move forward? Is there something from public comments that you want to? And if you don't have it at that time, remember, if you want to add an agenda item, email the chair or the vice chair at any time and say, this is an agenda item or a topic I'd like to have discussed. That goes directly to Juan Carlos or send it to staff and we'll send it back. That is part of your meeting development. Yes.
Along the same lines, for this tracker, I know it's not a priority on there, but can we just simply add it as we start our meeting, there is a spreadsheet tracker that starts, here's the comments that's people made from the previous meeting.
Well, we won't.
And it keeps us all
we
honest
don't
and
track
accountable.
the comments. But
Well,
you
the
could
comments that
track
have
at
action
the
items.
end of every meeting and say, is there anything you want to move forward? Is there something actionable? However, but each of you, one of you can determine even today, not being a priority of those, can say, I will at every meeting create a tracker of all the public comments. You can do that, but remember, it's a public doc.
Correct,
Tim, it becomes a public document
yeah,
and it has to be shared with the public.
which I'm fine with. I think it should be. I think it should be tracked and shown to the public. It keeps all of us honest, ourselves, the county, everyone. And it forces us to actually follow up on some of these items.
So next meeting, we can, if that's something of interest, we can bring that back or at a future meeting and say, does somebody want to volunteer to do that?
But we're not gonna go public, like, we're not gonna respond to it. We're gonna write them all down, but we're not gonna.
Well,
Well, I think the
Well, I think we
question
need to
is
follow
if
up.
you write it down, you then hold yourselves accountable. So what do you do with that
it's not
information?
just ourselves,
In
it's
the
the
public.
county as well. Some of the comments are, the county will, that the count, sorry. The people will ask us for things that we don't have control over. It could be a county action item as well. And so it keeps us all honest.
Well, yes, and yes. And I know that as we hear public comments, that's Stafford's responsibility when it hits our desk and when something we do. That's how we do agenda setting, or we do decisions in the back. So for example, there was, I think we had a lot of public comments about the speed on Middlefield Road. And, there were some around Costco, around that Costco area, and I think that, we were able to then quickly respond and say that those are, staff will kind of pull somebody aside, say those are outside that city, that's not an incorporated area. So we try to, when it's a county specific, we do attempt to do that on the spot or on the call. But the tracker, if it's a tracker for the council, it's a tracker of action items. What we do, like for other commissions, at the end of the meeting, we say, these are the actionable items that we want to carry forward. And the commission talks about that. So I think that might be flushed out. We can talk about that more, but it's something you guys can continue to talk about.
Yeah, we'll probably break it
I'll
down.
leave that, and I'll leave it to Juan Carlos to figure out how he wants to carry this item, if it's something that.
Thanks, George. All right, we need to.
I second Juan Carlos gets it.
Thank you very much.
There are no public comments.
It's no public comments. I do appreciate you guys came to this room outside of the Farrell's Community Center. I hope you enjoyed it. This space is also something for you guys to consider if you want to hold future meetings.
Yes,
So that's something you should think of.
it's true.
No, we're not saying we're gonna have regular meetings here. I am gonna suggest, if the council agrees, I'm not gonna, do this
Yeah, that's today.
unilaterally, but I am gonna suggest to the council that if we can hold study sessions here, only study sessions, we will continue to hold regular meetings at a regular place. Do we have an agreement to that? Is that okay?
Can we have a
Yeah,
little
oh,
discussion?
Okay, let's have discussion over it. I'll just throw it out there. Talk about it.
I
Okay.
think it's important just to consider the location and also the technology, what we can offer and what staff can do. Given the attendance and we have it Zoom, so I just wanted to check and get a pulse on what that looks like for you. Yeah. And thank you very much. And
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you
very much.
All right.